I apologize. I'm a few minutes late. What would a Facebook Live be without a little technical glitch trying to get on? So here we are. I'm super, super excited. I apologize for being a few minutes late. I'm going to go ahead and tag Julia so she can share this with all of you who wanted to be here live. I am talking about a super juicy topic. We're going to jump into how I use just 5 pieces of content a week to hit 100K months, and how I've done this organically for years and years, and how I've helped my clients do the same thing. And honestly, it's one of those things that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and how content plays a role, but not just any type of content and not just randomly creating content, but having a content system. So I'm going to give you all the nitty-gritty details, as I always like to do in these next level up lessons. So as you're joining on with me, if you can see and hear me, say hi, let me know that you're here, and tell me where you're watching from. If you're new here, I want to just say hello, and I'm so excited to have you. If this is the first time ever, welcome, welcome. I'm really excited. And if you've been here for a while, welcome anyways. I love having you. And this is one of my favorite topics. So as you're hopping on, say hi, let me know you're here, and my wonderful, incredible team member, Julia, will be tagging those of you who want to get in. So say hi and let me know you're here. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. Hi, Kelly from Florida. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm going to talk to you guys about what it looks like to attract premium clients into your business, and how I've been able to do this using just 5 pieces of content. And I know it sounds surreal. Like if someone had said this to me 5-6 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes as hard as I could and said, this is absolutely impossible. So if you're here with me right now and it seems crazy to be able to hit 100K months in your business using only just 5 pieces of content a week, drop a 1. I want to be real. I'm totally open and honest that this does sound super crazy. Now here's the deal. You're here because you want to be able to attract premium clients, right? You want to be able to do it without you having to market in your business nonstop, doing live launches, creating endless amounts of content, constantly doing all of these things. For me, this looked a little bit like I literally bought every content prompt out there. I tried the copywriting courses. I went live and did those like live every day type things. I did live launches, all that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tried any of those, if those have ever been your reality. Hey, Christine. If you've been in that space of let me create more, let me do more, let me have more stuff. Because I feel like this is like a common thing that's being taught in the online space, is that in order to get more eyeballs on our business, we need more. We need more content, more spaces to show up in, more visibility, et cetera, et cetera. And while to a certain extent, I will agree that it's true that we do need lots of visibility in our business, I also want to be clear about the fact that it's not about just randomly doing more. It's about being strategic and leveraging the online space, or even podcasts or blogs, etc., to create traffic in your business using the right type of content. And yes, I'm saying right type of content because there is a wrong type of content, and it's the content I've created a million times before. It's this idea of showing up and just giving tons of value. It's about being everywhere. It's about just being consistent, doing all of these things, right? Hands up if that's ever been you. You've been told one of those things, or you've tried one of those things, whether it's I'm going to try content prompts, I'm going to be on every platform imaginable, I'm going to go live every day, I'm going to create 3 or 4 pieces of content a day, all of those things. Drop in the comments and let me know if any of those were you, because that was my reality for a very long time. And I kind of got to a point where I was super over it, and I wanted to be able to attract more clients who actually wanted to pay me, who actually wanted to work with me without me having to do so much, because it's not about tons of content. It's about having strategic content that does the heavy lifting for you and brings you clients who want to say yes. Robin's raising her hands. Drop in if you guys have ever experienced that, or if anything else, if it's one of the things I haven't mentioned, but it's something you've heard about content, or how to show up, or how to create more opportunities and visibility. Tell me in the comments, because I want to hear from you. I get it. So what I'm going to share with you here today is how we attract premium clients into our business, how I use just 5 pieces of content a week in order to do that, and I hit 100K months in my business organically, and why it's not as difficult as it may seem. So for those of you who are brand new to me, my name is Nazha Teferi. I'm a business growth strategist and 18-year marketing expert, and I love dropping knowledge on how to actually take cold lead strangers, newbies in your world, or even lurkers, and turn them into premium clients in just 7 days using my EasyS method. So let's jump in. Let's jump into this amazing topic. I'm gonna have my notes up to look at it, but here's what I want you to understand. When I made this shift, when I moved out of this constant content creation and constantly doing more, the results of this were incredible. And I wanna share them with you because I want you to understand what's possible from this. We literally used organic marketing and leverage these 5 pieces of content in what's now called my one-touch content system to have 60K days with cold traffic. I mean, people who have never ever met me before. So this was surreal to me when I first started my business, thinking that there was a way for me to take people who had never met or seen me before and convert them into clients with just 1 piece of content. So drop 1 in the comments if that seems surreal to you as well. I've been able to grow my business working just 15 hours a week using organic traffic with this method. And you can actually go from being totally unknown, this newbie, this secret person, this secret undercover person that nobody knows about in your industry for months, and actually leverage this to transition into being seen as the go-to, the only solution. So number 1, the first thing I want to talk about is how you only need 5 pieces of content a week, okay? Here's the truth. Hey, Erica. Here's the truth about content. Less is more. I think we get into this idea that if we constantly create more content, we're going to stay top of mind. And this idea came from the fact that we need to constantly be in people's faces for them to remember us, for them to recognize us, and for them to trust us. And the truth of the matter is, it's not about more content. It's not about, oh, people are going to forget you and they're not going to know who you are, and so we have to constantly create more content. But that's exactly what typical marketing strategies are built around, on this idea that you're not memorable, that you're forgettable, that tomorrow someone's going to totally forget who you are if you're not on social media and posting content. Like, I want you to think about that and think to yourself, how awkward is that to think and say that the reason we're creating nonstop content, the reason why we're creating 10 pieces of content a day and showing up so much is because we feel like people will not remember us if we took a step back, if we're not always on and showing up, that we're going to become yesterday's news. Let me know in the comments, drop a yes, if that's ever felt like you, that you felt like you need to create more content because you don't want to be yesterday's news. And to stay top of mind, we need to create more content. Because that was my feeling and my sentiment for a really long time, because that's essentially what we're being taught. We're being taught that to stay top of mind, for people to recognize, to know you, to love you, to start paying attention to you, or to remember you, we need to stay top of mind. We need to create more content in order to stay top of mind. Now, here's the truth. You don't need to stay top of mind. That's an old, broken way of thinking, right? It's this idea that we have to constantly be in people's faces to be remembered. Now, that's a way of getting to burnout really quickly. Okay, so drop yes. I want you to drop yes in the comments if you've ever felt like you need to just constantly create content, churn out content in order for you to be remembered and be seen. So what we're going to break down is why and how you only need 5 pieces of content a week. Because if you look at content and think about content as how you drive traffic, how people come to find you, then you need to understand that it's not about you creating tons of content, it's about you driving traffic to said content, right? So the biggest shift I want you to think about when you think in your business is, instead of you creating more content, I want you to think about, how do I drive more traffic to my content, okay? It's this idea of you should only be spending 20% of your time actually creating the content and 80% of that time driving traffic to it. So in my business, I use 5 pieces of content, and I'm literally going to tell you the 5 types of content. It's not even types of content, it's 5 pieces. So there's 3 types, 5 pieces, okay? So the 3 types of content I use are engagement content, value content, promo content. That is it. So I want you to write those down, okay? It's 3 things. It's engagement content, value content, promo content. So I don't even have, like, it's not about like tons of different types of styles of content. And I want to share with you what I mean by that, okay? So engagement content is built on relationships. I'm literally in the business of building relationships with people. When you get out of the state of mind that I'm going to create content and then people are just going to come to me, and you recognize the fact that you're creating content to build relationships, okay? You're building content, you're creating a system for how people get to know you, fall in love with you, and decide to work with you, right? So it's about being systematic. It's not about tons of content. It's about knowing what the content is meant to do. So those 3 pieces of content: engagement is built on relationships. I'm focusing on building relationships. Value is helping people understand what I do and how I do it and why that's important, right? Promo is literally giving them an opportunity to raise their hands. So I want you to drop in and drop 3, because one, I want you to hear that that's all we need is 3 types, styles of content. And then I literally leverage these 3 different styles using 5 pieces of content. Okay? So your goal when it comes to content is helping people make decisions. It's building relationships so that they can make a decision. When you understand that, you recognize that the job of your content is to help people go from one space to another space so that they can make a decision, right? So when it comes to doing that, rather than creating a bunch of random content, putting it out into the world and hoping that it catches their attention and drives them in, you take them on a journey. So I had a call with my Sustainable Profit Academy clients yesterday. This is exactly what we talked about. We talked about how if you look at content as a strategic way for you to help deliver decision making, help people make a decision, then what we're trying to achieve here is take them from at the beginning of the week, understanding a concept, into the end of the week, creating like a clear thought process of saying, I want to solve for that problem. Okay? So I always talk about how educational content doesn't help us, right? Educational content attracts more people who need education. They're not ready to invest. So my content is strategic in the fact that while I only need 5 pieces of content, it's built to speak to people who are already ready to start thinking about the problem and solving the problem. It's not people who have no idea. Erica, I'm so glad you liked it. So such a random, I just decided to go live and talk to you guys about it, but I'm glad you guys liked it. Right? It's really about a guided decision-making process. So your content is meant to do that. So you only need these 5 pieces of content, because if you think about it, that the way we get people to make decisions is we build a relationship, we create an understanding, we help them understand how that shows up for them, what it looks like in their business, and how you solve for that problem. Right? We're not doing a whole lot. Versus when we're speaking to people who don't know they have a problem, don't know they need to solve the problem, don't know how to solve the problem, don't know who to go to, that's a lot of education, right? So I want you to recognize and understand that your content needs to be strategic. Okay? So drop strategic in the comments. You guys are so quiet today. I hope you're taking notes and that's why you're being quiet. But I want you to recognize that you need to be strategic in your content. So you're only using 5 pieces of content and 3 styles of content to drive traffic. It's not confusing. It's not overwhelming. It's not a bunch of different things. It's making sure that when you're creating content, you're taking them on a guided decision making, and that you're driving traffic to that. So all of that time that you're spending on creating content, I want you to shift into instead focusing on how you actually drive people to that content. So if that means you're going live, or if that means that you create a blog post, or you do a podcast episode, or you have a weekly newsletter that goes out that's really driven with a piece of content you want people to see, you're going to push traffic to that content. You're not going to sit there and say, I'm going to create more because it's not getting the attention. You're going to push attention to those pieces of content. So with my 5 pieces of content, I'm taking them on a decision-making journey, and then I'm driving people to this. So in only 30 to 60 minutes a day of marketing, I'm pushing traffic to these 5 pieces of content. You guys understand? Drop yes in the comments if this is making sense to you guys. If you guys are understanding that how and why we only need 5 pieces of content is because we're taking them on a journey. You're using 3 styles of content, which is again engagement content, value content, promo content. So promo content gets them to raise their hands finally. But again, it's not done just sporadically. It's not just I'm going to throw content out the window. It's meant to take them on a journey. So let me walk you through how I do this, okay? So what I typically do is I have a system that helps me get people to say yes. So week in and week out, I use my content to drive traffic, get new people, new eyeballs on my business, create visibility. But then I quickly take them through creating visibility to learning who I am, what I do, and how I do it really quickly. Which is going to drive me into the next thing of how I use my one-touch content system to literally be able to have clients saying yes within 1 piece of content, right? So here's what I want you to understand and recognize. When people talk about touch points, they talk about the fact that it takes 8 to 20 touch points for someone to be able to decide that they want to work with you and that they want to purchase with you, right? This is an old way of how marketing and sales has been done. We've been taught that to build know, like, and trust, it requires multiple touch points because people can't make decisions without understanding who you are. But the truth of the matter is we can build trust quickly when we understand 2 huge things. Number 1 is we understand how we target clients who are already seeking out solutions. It's a key factor. We're targeting people who are already seeking out solutions. And number two is we understand how people make decisions. Marketing is really psychology, right? It's really how do we help people do that? So I always tell people, if you ever feel like, oh, I don't know how to do that, how do you help a child make a decision? How do you help your husband make a decision? How do you help a friend make a decision? What do you need to do in order to get them there? How do you personally make a decision? This is the fastest way for you to understand how your audience is making a decision. What do they need to know and understand in order to make a decision? When you understand this, your content now delivers on those trigger points. When you understand that your audience needs to know how you're different, how this solves their problem faster, better, stronger, and why this is the only solution they need, they no longer have to do the heavy lifting. They no longer have to go do tons of research, okay? So my one-touch content system allows me to create one piece of content, and I'm gonna tell you the type of content. Like I said, it's value-based content. It's not even about sales, it's about value-based content that really delineates exactly what I do, how I do it, why that's different, okay? So if you go and take a look at my personal profile, if you're not friends with me, add me right now and you can go take a look. You can scroll down my page and you'll see it's a long form piece of content, and we call these disruptive belief shifting pieces of content. They're value, okay? It's my value-based content. The goal of my value-based content is that someone who has never met me is, number one, going to be attracted to me because guess what? I'm disrupting their thought patterns. I'm doing this in a very specific and strategic way that I teach my clients, where I'm disrupting their thought patterns because I'm calling out a problem that they're trying to solve. So remember how I talked about at the beginning, I said we need to be able to speak to ready to invest clients, people who are seeking out solutions. Well, guess what? I don't create content to educate people on problems. I don't tell people, here's 5 reasons you should start a Facebook group. I don't tell people, here's 3 reasons why you need a funnel. Like, I would never teach that, right? I would never sit there and say, here's why you need this thing. Because in doing so, what I end up doing is attracting people who don't know they have a problem, who aren't seeking out solutions because they're not aware, right? Versus when I speak to someone, let me show you the difference. Instead of me saying 5 reasons you need a Facebook group, I'm gonna say 5 ways to make your Facebook group a conversion machine. You see the difference? So now I'm speaking to people who know they have a Facebook group, know that they have a problem, they want to create more conversions, and I'm speaking to how to solve for that problem. Now, if I want to take it one step further, I'm going to say how to make 5 steps to make your Facebook group a conversion machine without, and something that they've been taught before, without having show up in your group every single day, without going live every day, without running challenges. You see the difference? I'm attracting a different level of clientele because I'm speaking to a problem that only my ready to invest clients have. It's like this secret inside language we have because I understand their needs versus somebody who needs this constant education in order to make that shift. Okay? So it's really, really important for you to understand that part of why my one-touch content system works so well is because I target the right people. I speak to people who are already seeking out a solution. If I was speaking to someone who didn't know they had a problem and didn't want to solve the problem, one-touch content wouldn't work, right? Because they'd be like, oh, I have a problem? Oh, I should solve that problem? Oh, maybe it's a priority, maybe it's not. So if you're getting tons of people, Robin, I'm so glad. If you're getting tons of people who say, I can't afford it, or, oh, this is so inspirational, but I'm not ready, or I love what you're doing, but they never take action, one of these things is probably the culprit. You're probably speaking to DIY clients who don't want to invest because they don't know they have a problem, or your content isn't strategic, meaning it's not helping them make decisions. So all it's doing is giving them information and knowledge, which is great. Feels good for us to be doing that, but it's not actually getting people to a decision-making process. It's not getting people to take action. It's just making them feel good. It's just, oh, that's great. I like that, right? And that's frustrating for us because we want to make people feel good, but we also want people to take action. We want people to say, oh my gosh, I want to solve this problem. Give it to me right now. So one-touch content system, I built this whole thing called the one-touch content system, which is essentially 5 pieces of content that I create that literally allows people from one touch to create one touch rather than these 8 to 20 touch points in 90 days and going live every day and blah, 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 blah. It literally allows people to literally meet me and say yes in the same day. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I have had clients sign up for $25,000 packages who literally met me from one piece of content. I'm talking about didn't do anything else. They read one piece of content and they said, holy crap, this makes sense. Because I disrupted their beliefs. I shifted in where they were. I spoke to where they were right now, but I shifted them to see the solution. And then I broke down how I do things. So if you go to my personal page right now or after this video and look at it, I call this out all the time. One of the biggest problems I see in marketing is this idea of intrigue marketing. Okay? Intrigue marketing is like, don't give away too much. People ask me this all the time. Don't give away too much. How do I not give away too much, Naz? And it's like this crazy fallacy that we have like a limited amount of knowledge and that we can only give out so much because otherwise people won't buy from us, right? Now, here's the thing about this. Intrigue marketing is built on this idea that it's almost like bait and switch, right? Like, oh, come see what I have. And you can only really get a clear understanding of what I do until you pay me. But I make it sound so good to you that you like want to pay me because why not? And then you get in there and you're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted, right? And this is like the biggest thing I see in ads, in marketing, is that people aren't telling people how they get results. And I'm like, what is this? A big catfish scam? A big scam of like, just buy from me, trust me, I'm great? Because essentially this is what we're doing with our content. We're creating content that tells people, just trust me. I promise I'm gonna get you results, but you don't need to know how I do it. Just trust me, okay? So what I shifted into was, I don't want to have 8 to 20 touch points. I don't want to have to try and get people to read enough content and maybe they'll believe me and buy from me. Instead of creating this idea of 8 to 20 touch points because we have to throw more and more content at them and hope that they put the puzzle pieces together, why not give them all the dang puzzle pieces in one piece of content? Okay, so this is exactly what we do. My disruptive belief shifting style content literally talks about the problem that they think that they're having, the problem that they need to solve. I talk about how they actually need to solve it, what's the gap in that, and then I literally break down for them how my methodology solves for the problem, how my methodology delivers a result. I don't hide anything. What you see is what you get. And so why people buy from that is that I literally give them all the puzzle pieces so they can make a decision with one piece of content. Do you see the difference? Rather than me telling people, hey, I'm going to give you bits and pieces of content here and there, and maybe you'll put the pieces together in your brain if you hang out long enough, and if the algorithms work in my favor, or you are able to watch and listen to enough of my podcast, maybe at some point you'll understand what I do and you'll be able to buy. Instead, we take away all of that and we help them make a decision with one piece of content because they can clearly understand how you do things differently. What I found for my audience is they needed to understand why they're not able to solve the problem. So I identify for them why they're not able to solve the problem. I share with them what they really need to be doing instead, very clearly. And then I share with them how I do things in my own proprietary way, how my solution is the only solution. I remove all obstacles out of their way to make a decision. So with one piece of content, someone could literally read that, having just met me yesterday, sit there and go through my content and come out the other end saying, I know exactly what you do. I know exactly how you do it. And I know why that's exactly what I need in order to achieve that. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone loves me and buys from me, right? There's going to be a horde of people who read my content and say, ugh, this isn't for me, and moves on. Great. That repels clients who aren't a right fit for me. So it's a double-edged sword, and I need you to understand that, right? Hey, Marissa. Yeah, I'm totally transparent. What you see is what you get. And I think that what people don't understand is this is what allows us to create conversions. This is what allows us to sign clients, is because we don't hold back. We deliver and show exactly what we do, okay? So again, I want to recap what I already said. So number one is I only use 5 pieces of content. My 5 pieces of content take them on a journey. Remember I said it's a journey of decision making. So my goal when I'm creating content is how can I get from here to here, help them make a decision. It's okay, I'm using these 3 styles of content: engagement, value, which I talked about second was disruptive, belief shifting, value content, and promotion to help people raise their hands. So I'm letting them literally use their psychological process of how they make decisions to make decisions, not pushing them. I'm giving them the opportunity and they're coming into me. So people DM me on a daily basis and say, how can I work with you? Naz, tell me about your programs. Naz, what's the next step? Because they can read content, one piece, and make a decision. So that's the second thing we talked about, how my one-touch content system allows me to do that. I'm able to create one touch with people and come out the other side saying yes. And it's not just me, it's my clients too. I have clients who literally come to me every day and say, Naz, I wrote one post and signed 3 clients. How's that possible? Because we have one touch content system that literally breaks down the psychological way that people make decisions and helps them get to a yes. Okay? And they do this by creating content in 1 to 2 hours a week, because guess what? We're only creating 5 pieces of content. And I'm going to break down for you. I'm going to pull back the curtains and tell you exactly the 5 pieces of content I create. Ready? Take notes, because usually I only share these with my clients. Number 1, I create a focal piece of content. Focal pieces of content is where I feel like my audience is going to get the biggest amount of value. Okay? For me, it's a Facebook Live. Hi, you're on my focal piece of content right now. For a lot of my clients, it looks like a podcast. A lot of my clients, it looks like a blog post or an article on LinkedIn or an email that they send out on a weekly basis. Whatever it is, they have a focal piece of content. This is where they know they're going to deliver the most amount of value and drive as much traffic as possible. So for me, Facebook Live, okay? So I literally start with my focal piece of content and I build my content around it. So then I say, okay, well, what do I need to get people to my focal piece of content, right? Knowing that there's a focal piece, I then say, okay, great. What I'm gonna do is create some engagement around the topic, because if I spark interest and I create a relationship first, I'm getting people to get into the conversation. So you'll see that I do this. I literally create engagement around the topic that I'm going to go live about. I create a conversation so that people start getting involved in this conversation and start to recognize that this is something that they need to start taking note on, okay? Very strategic. It's very strategic how we do this. Then what I do is I do a belief shift, okay? So just like I said, my second piece of content is a belief shift. I say, hey, you know what? You don't need tons of content. You don't need to go live every single day. Hey, you don't need challenges. You don't need all this other junk that they think that they need. And I belief shift them. And I say, instead, what you need is a content system. You need a way to deliver your message strategically that takes people on a journey to make decisions. Hi, you're here. I'm doing this thing. You're all part of my content system. You've all been through it, right? Then it allows me to then promote that content. So on the next day, I'll go live and I'll do my live, and then I'll promote the content that I did. So I'll create a promotional piece of content to share this amazing training that I'll do and say, hey, I did this training. Do you want it? Drive traffic to it. And then I'll create one last piece of content, which will either be something engaging that allows people to, again, start the conversation around it. Or number 3, it's something that, again, is belief shifting, helps them understand how this would work for them. And by the end of the week, people are like, oh my gosh, this concept makes so much sense. How do I work with you? What is the next step? Because every week, someone goes on a journey with me. Every week, someone knows I start the conversation and I end the conversation with showing them how and why it works so well. And they raise their hands and say yes. It's not some like fancy pants thing. It's about knowing strategically how people make decisions, how psychologically people make decisions, how to deliver them on this pathway to decision making using 5 pieces of content. This is exactly how my Easy Yes method works. It's the first step in my Easy Yes method. One of the things we do is we build proprietary methodology. So you see how everything I've shared with you here today, my one-touch content system, all this is my proprietary process. So what I've done is I've understood what's not working in the marketplace. So in my case, my clients are tired of trying to stand out. They're tired of trying to be top of mind and show up in all the places. They want a way for people to come to them. Okay? So the reason my content system works so well is because I've developed a proprietary method that disrupts thought patterns. That gets people to say, holy crap, yes, this is what I've needed. A great example of this, imagine that you teach weight loss and people are nonstop, everyone in the weight loss industry is talking about diet and exercise. That's all everyone ever talks about is diet and exercise, right? And so there's this whole huge group of people who have tried diet and exercise and it didn't work for them and they're so frustrated. So they don't want to invest in things because they're like, nothing works, right? But they want a solution. They're seeking out solutions, but they're thinking, oh my gosh, if I hear one more person talk about diet and exercise is the only way, it didn't work for me. Now, someone comes in having used the Easy Yes method and they understand that diet and exercise is great, but unless they actually have a way to build a habit that allows them to not see food as a problem but as fuel, that they're never going to be successful and diet and exercise will never work. And so this person comes in, like my clients do, talks about their proprietary method of how they actually help you get more out of less diet and exercise because they help you develop a habit formation around food being fuel and not being a problem. And all of a sudden, people are coming at them like in drones, in hordes, in groups, saying, oh my gosh, I need this. Because they know this other stuff out here that everyone else is talking about isn't working. They want a new way to solve the problem. And that's what proprietary methodology does. It solves the problem everyone's having, like weight loss, and everyone's having a problem that you solve, I'm sure, right? Like I solve the problem of people want more conversions in their business. And what they do is it's how do I solve it in a new way? So for me, it's my easy yes method. I solve this problem. I solve the big gaps in the market of like, you're tired of trying to stand out. You're tired of trying to create authority and not knowing how to do it. We create innovative authority by developing your proprietary methodology. That's step one. Step one, if this is making sense, I want you guys to see you're all part of how I do this. So you're seeing and experiencing it firsthand. That's the very first thing we do. Second thing we do is we build a sales system. Sales system allows that when new people are introduced to you, how can they quickly get to know you, fall in love with you, and say yes? So we leverage, I've built this incredible sales system that borrows Netflix style methodology to help people make decisions. So they come to me. I have brand new people who come to me, have never met me, go through my sales system, come out the next day and say, I want to work with you. What's the next step? Why? Because I've developed a process that allows them to do that they can go through my sales system and come out the other side having made a decision that this is what they want. Okay? So that's step two, is having a sales system that's automated, that runs in the background of your business so that when new people come to you, they can quickly make decisions. It helps, supports them in making decisions. So drop a 2 if this is making sense. That's step 2 in the easy yes method. So see how I'm telling you exactly what I do? I'm not holding back. There's no like, oh, you can't figure it out until you work with me. I'm going to tell you how we do it. Because that allows you to build trust with me even if you just met me. And then step 3 is what we call results and retention. So this is the idea that it's not just about having an irresistible offer, it's about having an offer that delivers results every time. So it's a scalable offer framework that allows you to deliver consistent results every time you work with your clients at scale. So that means that whether you're working with one client or 100 clients, you're gonna get the same results for your clients, and then your clients are gonna become raving fans just like mine do, who show up on my lives and shout my praises and I love them for, is because they're getting amazing results. They know that I have a mechanism to support them in making and getting those results, okay? So that's how the Easy Yes system works. It's literally understanding how we create a proprietary methodology so you have the messaging and positioning that makes you the only solution in the marketplace, allows you to create content that with one touch converts people. Step 2 is having an automated sales system so that when new people are being introduced to you, they can quickly fall in love with you without you having to do all the heavy lifting. And step 3 is having a results mechanism. How can you deliver results to your clients at scale? Because it's not good enough to just have an offer that doesn't necessarily get results every time. I want you to have an offer that delivers results every single time so that you can have a business for years and years where people are still talking about you and how incredible it is to work with you. That's the Easy Yes method. Okay? So if you're sitting here shaking your head being like, oh my gosh, this is all the stuff I need, I want you to drop easy in the comments. And what we'll do is we'll reach out to you. I'll have a totally non-aggressive conversation, and we'll talk about whether or not it may be a good fit for you to jump on a call with me. On this call, I'm going to be totally honest with you what we're going to do on this call. I'm going to share with you, we're going to look at your business right now. We're going to look at how you currently acquire clients. I'm going to share with you where I see the gaps and opportunities in your current model. And I'm going to share with you how the Easy Yes method would work specifically in your business model. So if that's you and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, tell me more, drop easy. Send me a DM saying Easy Yes, and we'll talk more, okay? Because honestly, I want you guys to get into the habit of recognizing that your success isn't dependent on more. It's not more content. It's not about more offers that you have in your business and more stuff that isn't going to get you anywhere. It's about actually having a systematic and strategic approach to delivering results, both results in your business and results to your clients, okay? So I hope that this was helpful to you guys, that you guys are seeing why it's actually a lot easier for you to create a successful and sustainable business that lasts long term without all these tactics and hacks that most people are teaching, and instead having a really systematic and strategic approach that allows you to do less, allows it to be easy, allows you to attract clients who are ready to invest and want to work with you without having to have tons and tons of content, okay? So key takeaway I want you guys to take away from this is when we talked about 5 pieces of content, remember it's about taking them on a journey. It's about getting them to understand how you deliver a solution to them. Then we talked about the one-touch content system and why it works so well. It works because of the fact that we're not holding anything back. We're allowing people to see the full-fledged understanding of what you do, how you do it, and why that's important. We're allowing to literally shortcut what current sales processes look like, which are 90 plus days, driving them down to like 7 days because people can see what you do quickly. And then we talked about how you can actually do this all so quickly because, again, we're not creating tons and tons more stuff. We're focusing on driving traffic to the content that we create, which allows you to have more clients who are actually raising their hands, because when you create content that converts, then you no longer need to just create content for the sake of throwing stuff out there. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful to you guys. And again, if you want to learn more about how the Easy Yes method can work for you and your business, drop Easy Yes or shoot me a DM and we can chat more about this. But otherwise, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys see how you can stop creating so much content and actually focus on creating more opportunities to get clients who want to work with you. Have a good day, guys.